Hey there, fellow pickers. My name is Mike Crafton, and I'm coming to you from the Redwoods of Northern California.
And my name is Carl Mandrulli, coming to you from Castle Rock, Colorado. What is going on, my friend?
Hey, man, I feel like this is going to be a show about learning. Last episode we got a lot of comments about a lot of my mistakes.
Okay. Yeah, we've got some comments to respond to for sure. And then, yeah, so like we haven't had a ton of guests on, but for sure, the Pittsburgh Picker, Daily Cabbage, they're my favorite too. We've got Pittsburgh Picker specifically coming on today. Always excited to talk to him. I feel like I'm taking notes when I'm talking to him because he's got so much good information, so helpful, and just a fun guy for sure.
Such a wealth of knowledge. So getting into it, we got a lot of message from our listeners. Like I said, we got an email, we got an Apple review, and then we got some messages from the Pittsburgh Picker. So we got an email from Tyler about your iPhones, and he kind of gave us some ways of being able to restore those without having the Apple password. Mm-hmm. So are they what is it called? The Apple password? Not the Apple password. Why do I draw a blank as soon as we hit record? It's Apple ID. There you go.
Yeah, same thing.
All right. He gave us a great link to an article also on how to restore the iPhones. So this works out, man. I think we have another sourcing opportunity to still buy iPads and iPhones. What do you think?
Maybe. I'm going to say strong maybe on that one. So I do have an iPad that is attached to an Apple ID. And I went through his first message and where you basically, like restore it. And when I restored it, it still prompted, like it went back to like the hello screen where you're going like, I speak English, and you kind of go through it. And it still prompted the Apple ID to continue. And so I think I got to dig a little bit deeper into that. The iPad I have specifically is not worth all this time. Like it's not that valuable. It's one of the older like minis. And then I used to see iPhones and iPads more frequently at garage sales specifically, but I don't see them anymore because now phone companies are having you turn in your phones and they give you credit for them when you upgrade. So I don't know that this is really, I don't know if it's worth my time basically, but I'll try it out because he took the time to suggest it. And so I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Tyler, for doing that.
Sure. I know what you're saying about Apple taking the trade-ins, but I'm telling you, I've done a couple of the trade-ins, and one of them I sent back perfectly fine working iPhone. But as soon as it went to Apple and they did all their testing and plugging in and stuff, they're like, oh, it's got this and this and this wrong with it. I'll give you $10 for it. And I could have sold that thing. I could have sold that thing to somebody used for a lot more money than that. So I think it's just a temporary thing where people are going to be tempted to send in their old iPhones to Apple, but they're going to quickly realize that Apple's not going to pay them as much as they can just sell them on eBay or Facebook or wherever they need to sell them. So I think they're going to start coming back. I would still hold on to those.
For me, it wasn't Apple. It was just the phone company. It was AT&T. I got AT&T. So I literally like in the last week upgraded my phone, and they gave me a lot of money for my old phone. So,
well, it's a lot of money. Like what?
Well, I had an iPhone. I mean, I don't know how specific you want to get. iPhone 12 mini. They gave me, I think, $700.
What? Whoa. Okay.
$700 credit towards the next phone, basically. Yeah.
Okay. No, I just sent in my wife's iPhone 11, and they only gave me $200 for it. Working in perfectly order. It was Apple. I went through Apple and bought it that way. Maybe I should have went through maybe next time. I'm about due for one on mine. Mine's starting to give me some trouble. So if I do another one, maybe I'll try going straight through Verizon, because that's who I have out here.
Right.
So we'll see how it works out. But I'm sure they all go to the same refurbishing store. It's not like there's 100,000 other stores that refurbish these things and give you money back. So
no, it's just that they're trying to suck you into the contract and the monthly things with the phone company. But I see. We're getting into the weeds on that. We got to get to the Pittsburgh Picker, man. He's the star of the show this episode. So
yes, sir. Before
we get to it, I gotta share real quick. Something to listen for is I think that when we started the interview, it kind of caught Mike by surprise. Like, wait a second, I have to talk to start and introduce him. And it's just a really funny starting of the interview. And Mike did a great job in the interview. He asked some really key questions. And so I think the interview is well worth a listen. And obviously he's a great guest, but the beginning is my favorite part, Mike. Favorite part.
No, I think it started off fine. I'm going to have to go back and re-listen to that because I didn't see any kind of hiccup at all.
I might have been physically cringing at the beginning. I might have.
No, Really? I didn't see anything
Oh my
wrong with it.
gosh. All right.
No.
Well, you tell us,
I
like, how did Mike do to start the interview? Am I wrong? Am I being overly judgmental? Or is Mike wrong? Was that pretty cringy? So here we go.
All right, so our last show had a lot of questions, a lot of feedback from a lot of people, but one of the most interesting ones that I wanted to follow up on was with the Pittsburgh Picker. So we wanted to welcome you back, one thing. So welcome back. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me
Everything
back.
going good? Nice.
Yeah, as good as it can be.
All right.
You know, midsummer
All right.
full-time reseller. So
Exactly.
I think I'm losing a little bit of hair.
I saw that in your video. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But
Yeah.
right off the bat, you had some good. You dropped us a comment specifically for me on selling old postcards and photos. So I'm a new reseller. I'm welcome to the feedback. So go ahead and give it to me. What do I got going on?
All right. So I didn't see what you bought, but you overpaid because you said $1 per.
Yep.
That you
Per.
way over.
Yep.
That's what I said. That's what I
Yeah,
said.
You're way over.
It was. Yep.
Yeah, you're looking to be for photographs. I wouldn't go any higher than 50 cents probably.
Okay.
Then that would be. This is like I know I can sell this for $20-$25 at the 50-cent range, but
Okay.
we typically are around 5 cents for photos and somewhere around 5 to 10 cents for postcards. So, and then depending on what you bought is gonna translate a lot into what you're selling. Because, and I didn't see what you bought, but were they like how big were they?
They were standard postcard size. So what is that?
There's two. So there's your Continental,
Yeah, that's
which
it
is
right
your
there.
newer stuff, and then there's the older ones, which are smaller.
No, it was
This
a
is the
Continental
size you
one.
want. These you don't want.
Okay. Okay.
You know your
Good to
postcards.
know.
Well, and it's
Yeah.
and it's not because they're bad. Like, you know, at that point you're looking for content. Like that was Caesar's Palace from the 90s in Atlantic City. So that would sell because of what it is. But you're still they top out around $4 or $5 unless it's something insanely rare.
Right.
So
And he showed, and just to clarify for the audio listeners, he showed 2 sizes, and he was saying you want the smaller size, basically.
yeah. I always get the size wrong, but it's the Continentals are 6x4 and the knees are 5 and
Yeah.
Yeah. Roughly.
I'll make it clear. Like, unless you know what you're doing, I probably wouldn't recommend buying postcards. Let's get like a really good deal.
Well,
or, like, a
no.
stash of them.
I would disagree. Only it's 5.5 by 3.5. But I would disagree because the only way you're going to get good at it is to do it. And
I'm not spending $1 a piece though. I would be
No.
if you're buying a stack of them for $1, yeah, like low risk, like go
Okay.
for
Right.
it. But if you're like, ooh, these could be good, but I don't know, that's when you
Right.
get into trouble, right?
Yeah. The other
Okay,
side to postcards, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
We all know that I overpaid, so we don't need to keep bringing that up. Let's just continue.
We'll bring it
on
up.
with
We'll bring it up.
conversation.
We can bring it up one more time. No.
No, it's all right. Go ahead.
So the other thing with postcards, it's a lot different than selling like, you know, VCRs or anything like that. It's a numbers game. So like behind me, I don't know if you can't see it. It's a podcast. So behind me in like this shelf right here is about 8,000 postcards. And
Whoa,
yeah.
8,000.
Yeah. So,
Oh my
and
God.
that's the key to it is it's not like, you know, selling a toaster where you list it and it will sell within, you know, a couple weeks. This is more of a long game, and you're looking for people that are going to just peruse your store and so forth and so forth. So the key to them is that, you know, the more you list, the more you're going to sell. And then also the more variety you have, the better your chances of selling. And the only other way you can play this is really, really know like do a lot of research, figure out the cards that are worth the money and what they look like, and then just buy those. And then, you know, you can have a smaller inventory because it's easy. But you know, that's the way it works with postcards because you sell the dumbest stuff. That card that I showed you a few minutes ago is a road in Bradford, Pennsylvania. That's all it is. And somebody bought it for $4.25.
Right. Okay.
Sorry
So-
to our Bradford listeners, but I have no idea
Well, no,
what
I
it
mean,
is.
not saying, but it's nothing, it's nothing that like, you would notice. Like, it's not the Statue of Liberty or Empire State Building or something like that. That's the other thing you want to steer clear of. Is
Okay.
heavily
really?
traveled areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like Niagara Falls is a big no-no. Just don't even, those go right in our, lot up bins, and they go right out the door. And, other really traveled areas and things like that. Washington, D.C. is another one. Philadelphia, those areas are,
Okay.
Gotcha.
lot
So I
'em
did
up.
I did stick to some of your principles, and one guy, it was a picture of a guy in a Hawaiian hat playing a acoustic guitar, shirtless, smoking a cigarette. So I think
That's
I
awesome.
covered all the unique bases, but it is going nowhere at all. It's crazy.
Really?
Yes.
What's your title?
Probably something dumb.
Smoke
No,
this.
I should've
Smoke
put-
this, right?
Yeah, well, your title should just be, it shouldn't even, it almost shouldn't make sense. So like, it should just be like a collection of keywords, essentially. So it makes a little sense, but not a ton of sense. I'll give you an example, because as soon as I find one, but we sold a bunch of pictures today, or yesterday, so I can hopefully find this pretty easily. Okay, so this is a photo of people on New Year's Eve from back in the 50s, and it says, vintage found photos, 1950s, New Year's Eve party, people smiling, celebrating fun.
I got you. Just keywords. Just keywords.
Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got
Right.
another one, vintage found photo, 1964, buffet food, table, reception, meal, ashtray, snapshot.
Okay. As many
So
keywords as you
gonna-
can fit in the title, basically.
Yep, and I'm going to report back. I'm going to change my keywords. I'm going to report back on this. But this kind of went into a two-part question for you. So
Sure.
we want to know, what are some of the things that you're no longer interested in picking? Like, you just figured out that it's no good.
You sent me that email, and I'm like, oh, that's a big list. It is, because we've niched down a lot. We kind of sell, I don't know, 10 things all the time. Dolls, Cabbage Patch dolls, postcards, photos, ephemera, that kind of stuff we sell all the time.
Okay.
But if I had to like give you my top things that I don't sell, and some of them are for personal reasons, not personal reasons, but some of them are for reasons that it's just me. So that the first one, and the one that popped into my head immediately, because I have a video coming out tomorrow kind of touching on this subject, is electronics. We do not if it turns on, plugs into the wall, we're out.
Yeah.
Because it's too volatile. You run the risk of selling something very expensive and then having to take that item back,
Right.
or it gets damaged in transit, or the person tries to scam you out of it, or whatever. It's just too volatile anymore, and the market's kind of flooded. So we're out on electronics. And the other side of the coin, and I explain this kind of in my video too, is that you have to test the hell out of those things. Everything you could possibly think of, potentially cleaning them, which means taking it apart, doing whatever you're going to do to it. And my patience for stuff like that is like down here, and I don't want to do it.
Okay.
So that's the number one, is electronics. We just don't sell them. And there's a lot of money to be made, and people make great money in it. It's not for us.
It's a high return rate, like you're saying, though, for sure.
It's a high return rate, and there's a lot of potential that it could be big money that you're refunding back the following week after you've already cashed a check from eBay. And as full-time resellers, we try to be responsible and keep money around, obviously, but that can lead to problems for the following week, and the week after that it can kind of cascade. So we steer clear.
Okay.
So
That makes sense.
don't get me wrong, we'll do it from time to time.
No, I've had some returns with electronics where, and even last year I sold a big or an expensive item that I personally used. It wasn't like a picked item, so I knew exactly what worked and what didn't. Like, I had used it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know the batteries work into this, and then the complaint came back and it was like, this doesn't work at all. And I was like, oh man, like this is fraud happening right now. And so that was an effort battle for sure.
Yeah, and it becomes that way, and especially when you sell on other marketplaces, they have different policies, and you could end up, out quite a bit of money, and that's just we just steer clear of it now. And also in the fact that, you know, when you go to a garage sale or anything like that, you're one of 55 people running at the gaming systems and stuff like that. So
Right.
we prefer to kind of steer into the realm of not everybody's looking for this stuff. And it makes it a lot easier for us to source. It makes it much less stressful. And we find that we have more days that we, you know, you have peaks and valleys in your sourcing. You have sourcing where you're just like, I can't, everywhere I go, I'm finding great stuff. And then you have weeks where you're like, I can't find anything. So that kind of prevents that for us.
That's fair. So you've recently put out a video, something along the lines of like the downside of being a full-time reseller, which I so appreciated the authenticity. But when you're talking to people who are like, you know, that's their goal, they're trying to get to where you are. It almost serves as kind of like this like warning, like, hey, I made it, but it's not all, you know, like rainbows and butterflies. So yeah. So if you don't mind, can we dig into that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let me just tell everybody, first of all, I'm fine. I got a lot of people who are like, you should go to therapy. You ever try therapy? And I'm like, no. We're not there. Like,
Okay.
All right.
Right.
you know, you can't make a YouTube video about you being upset about something and then smile and laugh throughout the whole thing. Like it doesn't work. Not that I'm acting, but you know, I had to kind of tone my demeanor down a little for the video because, you know, oh, I'm really depressed. that doesn't seem. That
You
doesn't
try
fit.
to be real authentic. That's what people want. They don't want, like.
And I was feeling pretty burned out that day, to be honest. To be fair.
Yeah. Okay. So if you could boil it down to like, you know, for those who haven't seen the video yet, they might check it out. But like a couple of your reasons, 2 or 3 reasons, like, or things we should watch out for, things that you're, you know, that are challenging you, or I don't know.
The biggest one is it's. You know, when we first started in this business, it was spun a lot differently. You know, the community looked much different than it does today, which was only a couple years ago. But it was very much, you know, you had these people, these personalities that were just showing you what they're buying and stuff like that. And then you had people that were out there that were talking numbers or talking, you know, how the, you know, and you would see the clickbait videos like make $15,000 a month selling on eBay and stuff like that. And it's changed. That, you know, it seems like the community weeded out a lot of those people naturally, not, you know, not rudely, but it seems like, you know, people just migrated away from these channels because it was not true. And so, you know, that's one of the things I tell everybody. Like if your goal is to eventually get there, it's not that. And if you think it's that, don't do it because it's not a get rich quick scheme. This is a work. You know,
job,
it's a job. It's a job.
It is a job. It absolutely is. We work more now than we did when we were working 40 hours a week. Now, granted, it's at our own pace. We don't get up real early. I know I don't get up real early in the morning. You know, we're typically up late, but you know, there's days where I'm listing postcards at 12:30 at night. You know, there's days where, you know, I'm fielding a question from somebody in New Zealand at 2 a.m. You know, so, and that's what I kind of said in the video was, you know, that's one of the biggest parts that nobody ever talks about is that I own a clothing store or something where I'm there. I open the shop up at 7 a.m. and I leave at 8 p.m. You know, and then after 8 p.m, I do paperwork and stuff like that, but I don't have any transactions going on. You know, I don't have to deal with the general public for the most part. Whereas our job, it's 24/7, 365 days a year. We had an irate customer on Christmas morning messaging us because she said her Furby didn't work. You know, and
I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, so that's one of the biggest downsides is that this job will follow you. You know, you're on vacation, you know, and I know people always say, well, you know, I close my store.
Right.
We really can't do that. You know, I mean, we can, but it's purposely making our lives harder by doing something like that. You know, whereas we could leave it open and take sales and put it on time away so we don't get any shipping dings. You know, but just shutting the store down altogether, not selling a thing is dumb for us.
Right.
So that's one of the biggest problems is that you are constantly available to work. And sometimes you're nice and relaxed. Maybe you're, sitting by a fire or you're doing something and you get a message, and that message is going to require an hour of your time. And, that happens. I've been in Atlantic City in a hotel room talking to somebody about a Cabbage Patch doll that they want to buy or something to that effect. And it's hard sometimes because, you really think to yourself like, oh, I can never get away from this thing ever.
Right.
So that was one of the.
Let me speak to that last part there, because that hit kind of a chord with me, where if you're talking about like you're having conversations with somebody who is, it's not a return, it's not an issue. They're looking at buying something. They're interested in one of your items. They send you a question or two. You respond. They don't follow up with a purchase. They follow up with more questions. Okay, the stuff that I sell, once that second email comes in with more questions, they buy the item about 1% of the time. They end up being the buyer. And so once that second email comes in, I say, sometimes I'll even like straight up block them because I know they just want to talk about the item. And I'll just say, okay, like I don't even respond, or I'll say like, hey, find it somewhere else. Not in a nice way, but that's what I'll say.
Yeah. So it depends on what it is. So if it's Cabbage Patch, it's tough for us to do that because there's the Instagram model that Sarah has, where a lot of people are coming from Instagram to our store. Okay. So, there's a little bit more of a relationship there. So if it's a Cabbage Patch question, a lot of the times we're going to answer them. Okay. And to your point, you're right. After about the second or third message, you're like, this person just wants to talk to me.
Right.
And you can kind of feel that out. You know what I mean? But like for the Atlantic City one that I was telling you about, this person had a legitimate question and translated. And the question was very simple. They wanted to buy 12 dolls.
Oh.
And they wanted to know if how we would combine shipping, because all of our listings say that just buy it, pay for it, we'll refund you the difference, because it's just easier these days to do it that way.
Right.
But with, and it does say under there for larger orders, contact us.
Okay.
Because, 12 times $12 is going to be an awful lot of money for this person to shell out to wait to get it back. Yeah, nice. I'm not good with math. But that's a ton. Plus the cost of the $12 that they're buying.
Right.
That's a big bill. So I had said to her, I responded back and just said, yeah, I understand, commit to buying all of them and we will send you an invoice with the total amount for shipping. And then her next message was something about a location where she needed them to go. And I'm like, you have to change your address. So it was a back and forth, but they were all very legitimate questions and, comments and stuff like that. But I'm on vacation, but this is a $500 order.
Right.
I can't just go, no, I'm busy drinking and playing slot machines right now. Have a nice day.
Right.
And I'm losing that $500, so I need
it. Right. Okay. So basically, like, to sum up your point, you're basically saying like you're kind of always on. You get to go at your own pace, which is nice, but it's not. Yeah, like it's still very time consuming, and it's time consuming at potentially all hours of the day. So that's one. Yes. One of the major issues.
Yeah. You have that kind of listing. We don't have like a written down quota that we want to go at every day. Mm-hmm. But, in my head, I know how much I need to list in a week to be able to get it done. So a lot of the times, life happens, so I'm getting behind, but we don't want to upset that balance, because the moment you change what you're listing or how you're listing and things like that, your store changes, or so in order to keep our income as consistent as possible, we have to do a certain amount of work.
Right.
And that certain amount of work can come and become very, very, very repetitive. And then you throw the dealing with the general public on it, and that's where the videos spawned out of. Because, me and Sarah are very much due for a break from, just to get away. Mm-hmm. And we were trying very hard to find a place where we can go that we could get away for a few days, and it just wasn't happening. And then that kind of tailed off, and then we got a little bit more kind of sluggish, and it led to the video. And I just, everybody on YouTube is talking about, the goal should be to become financially independent and all this stuff. And I said it on the video, I said it after the video, I said it on live shows. I'm not going anywhere. I would never ever quit
Right.
doing what I'm
Okay.
doing. I love what I do, but it isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It
Okay.
isn't all, this is the greatest thing ever, and you'll never have stress, and everything will be happy and wonderful. It's not that way. It
No, not with the
can
public.
drag on you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, let me ask you this: like,
And especially-
okay, if you're, I mean, if you're doing this so much and you're picking so much, you have this quota in your mind that you got to, list and sell a certain amount each week. Every once in a while you're going to find, we call it like the mother load, where you're getting a lot for a little, and stuff that that you're going to sell. And so over the years, when I'm doing this kind of more as a side hustle, when I find that like awesome find, the mother load, I'm like, I'm pretty excited about it. But if I was doing it full time, and so you're finding the mother load maybe more, more frequently, or you've done it for longer, is it less exciting to have those like big finds when they come up?
No,
Okay.
not at all. They're less frequent though.
Okay.
And why? Because if you're going to be full time, you have to establish some sort of, regular sources, because you don't want to have a lull in product.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the days of going, completely living off of garage sales or thrift stores or something like that have kind of gone away. Now we use them as kind of a supplement, so we'll go to a couple, we have cherry picked out all the best thrift stores, and those are the ones we go to, and that's it. Because I haven't set foot in a Goodwill in over a year. I don't, they suck out here, number one. And number two, it's more of a waste of my time to do that than it would be for me to sit down and list 50 postcards.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
that's part of the reason we don't. So it becomes less frequent because most of our stuff is coming from reliable sources. So Sarah has a source for Cabbage Patches. I have many sources for postcards, and then we have several auctions in our area that are very heavy on the stuff that we sell.
Okay.
So those are we're pulling from that. We're pulling from the Cabbage Patch. We're pulling from all this stuff, and we've got all this stuff in the house. So we're like, man, we don't need to go very many other places.
Right.
So. And now it becomes kind of supplementing. So that's really what we do. So less frequent, but yes, no, it's still awesome whenever it happens.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Mike,
Gotcha.
We had an awesome sale over last week. That was one of those, whoops, how'd that happen? So
Oh, okay.
that was an odd
A
one.
sale like you found a mother load sale, or you sold
No,
something
it was an
on
item that we had and we didn't think anything of it. And then when we put it on, we were like, oh, that's actually worth kind of a lot of money for what it is. It was an old like knife and basket, like hand weaved basket. We were like, how much could this be worth?
Right.
And it wasn't. It was a native gathering tool, and somebody bought it that curates a museum because
Wow.
it was like $300.
Wow.
And
Nice.
So no, it absolutely is not. In fact, there's we got to figure out if we could sell it, but right where my finger is a blowgun. And I don't know if we could sell it or not.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's kind of on the line. That's a good
I don't
point.
know.
So what did you
It's
guys find
native,
any
like it's
comps?
old.
Did you guys find
Oh.
any comps for the gathering basket?
No, so what happened is we listed it at the best way we could, and then somebody actually, the guy who ended up buying it, reached out and was like, hey, it's actually this, and it's actually rarer than what the one that you listed it as. He's like, it's not worth much more money. And then we looked it up and found it, and he was right. But it is a little more rare. And he's like, it's actually this. He's like, but I need to see the hilt. He goes, if it's pressed iron around it or whatever, or I'm sorry, it's soft iron, like wrapped around, almost like they tapped it around the hilt of the knife.
Oh wait, it was made. Sure.
Yeah. And we sent him pictures. He's like, yeah, it's this tribe. It's from here. That's the gathering basket. That's the knife that they use to gather berries and stuff like that. Because it's very rare. He's like, it's not super expensive, but it's very rare. And he sent us a website, and we looked it up on our own and WorthPoint and stuff like that. And he was right. It was worth about $350, and we sold it to him for a little cheaper because of what he did. But
Nice.
it was just sitting in this house. Like we bought it from somewhere, I don't even remember, and it was one of those things where you're like, this isn't going to be worth anything. And you just kind of set it aside for a minute, and then you look at it again, and we're like, we'll just put it on. And then Sarah, it always happens because Sarah I list right here, and she's on the other side of the house, and I hear, oh, so here's the thing. Remember that basket? I'm like, yeah. She's like, it's worth like $300. And I'm like,
Oh wow,
this has been sitting in our house for how long?
right.
So
That's awesome. That's really cool. I mean, that's the fun stuff. That happens every once in a while to me, where you're like, oh, it's this little thing, and then I'm like, oh, this is actually quite valuable. So,
Yeah.
And honestly, we find a lot from this is the podcast. Like Mike's mentioned some things where I'm like, why would that even be worth anything? And then I look it up, and I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah.
Right. I found a lot of stuff, like you're talking about the interest in YouTube and reselling and eBay and all that stuff, that people are really into seeing what you bought, what you paid for it, and then what you sold it for. Like those are just hot videos right now. But
I wish.
the ones that drive me crazy are when people show their 90-day sales on eBay.
Can't
that
stand it.
doesn't tell me anything. It's
Never once have I ever done it.
You made $90,000, but what did you pay for that stuff? So I think
Yes,
I think
that's
people
a
are catching
big
on to
deal.
that stuff.
I think
Right,
so too.
exactly.
And I always am of the impression, like, what I make is nobody's business. You know, you could, I mean, I guess if you watched all my what sold videos, you could figure it out. But even still, you know, there's things that I don't show. There's things that, you know, I can only talk about so many cabbage patches, you know, over and over and over again. So, I've never done it. There's been some debate about people doing it that I've heard. But you're right. The 90-day total doesn't mean a thing. It could be 1.2 million, and if you spent 999,000 on all that stuff, you made $200,000. So
Yeah. I'd take $200,000. I'll take that.
I would too, but the amount of work you would have to do and the amount of capital you'd have to shell out to be able to do
I don't
that.
have the capital. I don't have it. Yeah, I'm with you. Okay.
Not yet. Not until the Pickers podcast becomes monetized.
Yeah, so next week.
Exactly. It's close. It's real close.
Right,
They're
so-
reaching out to us.
Right after this video, they're going to have
Exactly.
you, I'm sure.
Okay, so you already mentioned that. You found the basket, and that was one of your more interesting recent sales. What else have you got going on here besides your typical things? Have you had anything else kind of recently pop up where you're like, that surprised me, or this sold for more or less? Or...
See, well, this will get back into, so it is typical, but this will get back into the original topic. Postcards, almost every time I get surprised about the postcards. Like we sold a postcard, a temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Oakland, California for $12.25. I have no idea why anybody would, one, want that card, or two, why they spent $13 on it.
Right.
Yeah.
But so postcards are one of those things, if you prejudge ahead of time, you're going to be sadly mistaken many, many times over, because, and I almost run almost every card I list through, at least through eBay, to take a peek at what they're selling for, what people are asking for them.
Sure.
Because a gas station in Coronado, California could be a $30 card for all you know, because there's only 4 of them in existence,
Right.
you know, or something like that. So
Yeah. Because
great
if you
advice.
go to and visit California, you're like, oh, I hope we can find a postcard of a gas station to send home. That'd be
who
great.
would buy that?
Yeah,
In,
right.
in churches, they are very worthless. The Latter-day Saints one's an oddball, but churches are another one that me personally, I'm not a religious person, but even if I was a religious person, I feel like if I was in Hawaii, the last postcard I'd even think to send to somebody is, here's the Catholic Church in Hawaii. Like, there's so many other postcards you could send. Why are you sending a picture of the Catholic Church? But
Right.
I don't get it. But yeah, what else have we sold that's
funny.
surprising?
We talk about all the time, that you never know what kind of buyers are out there for whatever kind of oddball Chotsky thing that they're looking for that you've got. So
Yeah.
I shotgun everything out there, see what sticks. Who knows what the buyer is going to be?
Yeah, I mean, we sell a lot of the same stuff. So a lot of our store is very repetitive. Like, I'm scrolling down through paid and shipped stuff, and it's almost all the same. So yeah, and that's one of the downsides, I think. But I think it's a necessary evil, because if you're full time and this is what your income relies on, you've got to be repetitive to be able to have a somewhat of a predictable income. If I'm going to garage sales every week and hoping that I find good stuff, I could get myself in trouble. You know what I mean? Because I could, and it used to happen to us all the time before we were full time, is we would go out for a weekend, we'd have planned out, where we're going garage selling, and we come home with 2 things. We were out for 5 hours. So we knew early on that if we were ever going to make a run into full time, we would have to find a way to consistently, at least have some stuff coming in consistently that we can consistently list. And then when the big stuff, or when we find the grails and the stuff that we really want to sell, kind of pile that on top of your regular stuff. And that's what postcards and pictures do for us, is they kind of fill in those gaps. And that's what they're great for. That's what I was going to actually tell you when I got off topic. But postcards are not, you could never make a living selling. You could, but you'd have to be massive. Like, your store would have to be humongous. But postcards are really great for filler. So if you like hearing that cha-ching sound and you believe that the algorithm does play a part in what you do, postcards are great, because you're going to have 50 plus listings every other day or every day or whatever it is. Granted, they're $5, $6, $7 listings, but they're there and you're constantly working. And for us, it works because, we just sold another postcard, and I just listed that one, and I thought it was worthless, and this was wrong.
Or gas stations. Gas stations. Yeah. Can I ask about the sending of the pictures and the postcards? Because if you're printing off labels from eBay, like the minimum you're spending is what, like $3, $4, And so are you stamping them and then handwriting the labels, or how do you do it?
No, it's a standard envelope. So eBay has a standard envelope for postcards and for
Small
trading
items.
cards.
Oh, okay.
So it looks like that.
Okay.
And it's basically a trackable stamp.
Okay.
So it's 60 cents for a 1 ounce envelope in these rigid envelopes is what we use.
Okay.
These are 6.5 by 4.5 rigid envelopes. And there's one company that makes them.
Okay.
And they frequently are out.
Oh, is that right? So does that print, like, you have to print on the envelope, or do you buy
it's a label.
Oh,
See the label?
Okay.
Right here?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a label.
So
it's a 6x4. eBay does it. Macari does it. Etsy does it. Poshmark obviously doesn't do it because they're priority only. Yeah. But now with photos, they're first class. So you can't, and also with photos, you can't use these tiny little envelopes, because this is an argument with me in the post office and many people in the post office, but they don't consider this a parcel. They consider this an envelope. So it's either a stamp or priority. Those are your only choices with this. Okay. If you put a first class label on this, technically it could come back, or they'll charge the person the priority price.
Okay.
So, and again, I've had this argument before, because if you go up to an 8x4 envelope, you're fine, because they consider that a parcel.
Okay.
This, they do not. So
Gotcha.
with the photos, they all go in 8x4 or 5x7 envelopes, 8x4 envelopes. And then they go out first class, which is, you're right, $3, $4.
Okay.
Depending on
Gotcha. Okay.
But oddly, people don't mind paying it. We get it all the time. And a lot of people will combine them. That's another plus side to selling stuff like that, is people will go through your store and buy many.
Right. Okay.
So
cool. All right. Well, hey, I really appreciate you giving me that education on old photos and postcards. I don't think I'm going to give up on them yet, but I'm definitely not paying $1 a piece.
Don't pay $1 a piece for them. 50 cents. I'm telling you, go to an antique store, find somebody in that antique store that has a whole bunch of them in there. And I guarantee you, you'll see a few of them listed around the 50-cent range. And as long as they're not the big ones, just buy them and figure it out. And you can message me. I'll help you.
That's nice.
I also have a video of the beginner's guide to postcards.
Do you? Okay. That's awesome.
All right.
We'll have to link that in the show description as well. That's
Watch
funny.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So you guys kind of want to give you a chance to promote some of your stuff. I know you guys have the live shows on Thursday, which I've jumped on them a couple times, and you guys are a character together. Let me tell you that. Some entertainment value right there. What else do you have? Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah. I put out one video a week because, YouTube's not my full-time job. Reselling is, so most of my time is dedicated to reselling. So yeah, we're live Thursday, Sunday night on on Pittsburgh Picker channel, 9:30 p.m. every Thursday and Sunday night. And then Fridays around 6, normally I'll release kind of a weekly video. And lately it's been a little more negative. But the last video I had to check and see, I'm like, did somebody shout me out or something? Like, what's happening? Why am I getting so many views? And it skyrocketed. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be bad. But, the one video that goes viral is me sad about something. And I'm like, oh man, now everyone's going to think I'm one of those people. No. But no. So yeah, every Thursday and Sunday, 9:30. And then we've got some things coming up. And so I could list off referral links till I'm blue in the face, but I'm not going to do that. So,
okay.
But
okay, well,
yeah,
we'll have some of those links in our show description for sure, and both on YouTube and on the audio apps as well. But yeah, it is interesting that I think you just being like authentic and real about kind of what it's like to be a full-time reseller, picker, whatever. I think people are like, well, yeah, what is that? Like, he's gonna really share what it's really like, and it's not, it's not gonna be like you said, rainbows and butterflies.
That has been my goal since day one.
Okay.
Was to show everybody what it's really like, and not. I don't ever appreciate having sugar-coated things because it inevitably, it just, you find out the reality behind it and you're like, this isn't at all what it was supposed to be like.
Exactly.
And so that was my goal from day one. And I have always said that, like, if you ever see, in the future when the Pittsburgh Picker channel's humongous, and I'm doing live reads, I can still guarantee you that every one of those live reads, I either believe in it or use it because I've gotten emails from people that are like, hey, we have goth jewelry. You want to promote that? And I'm like, no, I don't.
No, and please don't email me again.
Yeah, right.
That's so funny. Okay. Well, hey, we really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks
always
for
a blast. And we always learn a ton from you. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Geez, I love having Pittsburgh Picker on, and there wasn't nothing awkward about the way that I started that. That was perfectly fine. What are you talking about?
We'll ask our audience. They can be the judges. You know what? We all have our expectations, and I certainly start off interviews in an awkward way. So I'm not saying that you're the only person to do that, but maybe I'm wrong. So we'll see.
All right. We'll leave it to you, our listeners. Let us know in the comments, either on YouTube or over on Instagram, wherever you want. I think we reacted. I think we kind of covered the ground we wanted to cover. Any last thoughts about Cabbage Patch dolls, postcards, pictures? Like, he gave us a lot of tips with electronics. Yeah. Any last thoughts? Yeah, he gave us the one that I keyed in on that's very valuable to all of us resellers if we're picking these up is don't use keywords in your descriptions. Don't use, like, I use the title of the postcards. Maybe that's where I went wrong. And I just need to use those keywords like guy playing guitar, shirtless, smoking, or something like that. Something that's going to be catchy. So I definitely, I'm going to give you guys an update. I'm going to change that description, give you guys an update and see how that one plays out. I think it should sell. It's a very cool postcard. I mean, legitimately, I would buy it myself because it's just so fun. So I'll give you guys an update when it sells. Fair
enough, man. Okay, well, good deal. Yeah, takeaways. Yeah, it's interesting he stopped selling electronics, but I get it. I have a return rate with my electronics for, like I mentioned, things go out, they're fine, and then suddenly they stop working. So there's a combination of mishandling it during shipping, fraud, or who knows. So yeah.
Fraud's the one that I'm really worried about, and kind of a couple of the takeaways from that is, get the serial numbers. If it's a big item price, make sure that you're getting like for like back, you're getting the same products.
Yeah, that's a big one for sure.
Those out.
For sure.
Yep.
All right. So what you got?
All right. So I've had quite a few sales going on this week or this last week that were pretty interesting, but I just wanted to touch on at least one of them. And it was, I went to a garage sale or an estate sale, and they had a bin 25 cents listed, 25 cents, marked 25 cents for each of these things. And I picked up a Nintendo Donkey Kong barrel. So it's a little barrel that was in a Happy Meal from Burger King Dude, does Burger King call them Happy Meals? Whatever. So there's a little Donkey Kong barrel. Paid 25 cents for it, and I sold it for $3 plus $5 shipping. Can you believe that?
I can't believe that. Yes, I can believe
made-
that. That's not
I
that
made
much
$2.
money.
I made $2.75 on that transaction, buddy.
All right. Well, I'll share mine. I got show and tell here.
Okay. What do you
You
got?
know what this is right here?
That's a vintage airplane toy for our audio listeners that Carl's holding up. Is that from your childhood?
No, it's a
No?
picking
Oh.
podcast. What are you talking about here? All right. This is Fisher Price Little People vintage toy here. All right.
Okay.
So
I like
Fisher
it.
Price Little People vintage toy.
Okay.
So yeah.
It looks like it's in good shape, all functioning.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. I just realized something as I was talking to you about that. And I'll have to cut this part out. I think I just messed something up big time. Dang it.
Ooh.
Okay. Okay. So I was at a garage sale and they had like a little box, or they had a box full of that stuff. And I said, how much for the stuff? And she said $3. I was like, oh, $3 for, this vintage stuff. Sure. Sold. But then I looked and she's like, I got more of that. And she had like a big bin full of it. And so I'm thinking, well, $3 for the box, bin's bigger. So maybe like $10 for the bin. Yeah. And she's like, actually, like, I'm going to charge you $50 for the bin full of it. Whoa. I was like, okay, well, I don't know much about this stuff. And so would you have bought it?
Not for 50. Well, I mean, it depends on how big the bin is, but I know Fisher Price antique vintage Fisher Price is probably going to sell. So quality, what'd the quality look like when you looked in the box? If it was all dirty and ratty, I would have passed.
Okay.
I would have passed.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I didn't. I bought it, man. I bought it. Obviously, that's what I have right here. Yeah. So I bought it, and then it took some time. I kind of had to like separate out all the parts and pieces. Which sets do I have? Which sets are complete? Which sets are incomplete? And so I ended up having like 6 different sets, some complete, some not complete, and then some partials. Like I had like leftovers. I had like, Sesame Street characters that I sold independently. And so that was my favorite thing. It took some time, but it was my wife, so it was kind of fun. So I've sold, I think, 4 of the sets so far, ranging from like $40 to $130.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah. So it was a big time find. And as I was showing you the airplane, like there were actually 2 airplanes, and I sold the airplane set already. So this is kind of like a leftover plane. I realized I think I sent the lower quality one to the original person. So I was like, oh, this is the door that works. The other one doesn't work. They're going to be complaining. They're going to ask for a refund and stuff. I think I might have just lost some of that money I just shared with you. So anyway, that's how it goes.
Geez.
But
all right, nice find, buddy. Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I've seen that a couple times out there. That's not a common thing that I see, but I have seen it a couple times.
Yeah, I came across it also, and I bought some vintage toys like that, and they weren't in the best shape, so I don't think I picked very well. But I like to pick those things up too because I know they do sell.
Fair enough.
All right, good
stuff.
Trivia? I got trivia for you. Are you ready to handle trivia mistakes?
Yes. What you got?
All right. Number 1. What is the best way? Let me start over. Number 1. What's the best way to handle being corrected about your reselling mistakes? Is it A, treat it like a stand-up comedy routine, B, throw a temper tantrum and stop reselling, or C, go on a shopping spree to make yourself feel better?
What kind of question is this? Oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't even know what you're looking for. I have no idea what the answer is.
What's the best way to handle being corrected? What way?
Okay.
What would you
D,
pick?
learn from your mistakes.
Learn from your mistakes. No.
Yeah.
You treat it like a stand-up comedy routine. Grab a microphone, gather a crowd, and talk about your epic reselling blunders. Laugh at yourself. That's the best way. That's what we're doing.
All right. So you're saying everybody, whether they have a YouTube channel, a podcast, or nothing at all, find an audience and make fun of yourself.
Just lighthearted, make fun of yourself. Don't make fun of yourself to where you're going to go into depression. All right. So you did not get that one correct, by the way. There is no D. Number 2. What's the number 1 most common reseller mistake? I'll give it to you if you guess at least one of the first 3.
Okay, so not multiple choice.
It's not multiple choice. So just give me an answer. And if you guess one of my first three, I'll give you the point.
Over or under pricing the item?
Pricing errors is number one. Ding, ding, ding.
All
You got it
right, all
correct,
right.
my friend. Some of the other ones are inventory management issues, shipping and fulfillment mistakes, and then my personal favorite, inadequate product knowledge that goes
Okay,
along
well,
with
that's
our
common for me.
episodes.
So yeah. Okay.
All right, number 3, you got to get this one right to win trivia. Which one of these does Yamaha not make?
Yeah.
A,
Okay.
marine products,
Okay.
B, audio-visual equipment, or C, a power scrub mop. The musical mop features a handle that resembles a miniature keyboard complete with buttons. As you push the mop across the floor, it emits musical melodies based on the movement and speed of the mop.
Okay, we got to work on trivia questions. You have like A, simple answer, B, simple answer, C, paragraph. A, marine products.
But it was it's C. They do not make a power scrub mop that makes music while you push it.
I don't know. Well, they make musical stuff, so I thought that maybe I don't know. I don't like Yamaha. I told you I'm not selling that stuff anymore. You're like, well, you should be an expert on it.
Yeah, they were pretty simple. I was actually surprised that when I was researching that question, how many products Yamaha actually makes all across the board.
They do. Funny. They do make a lot of stuff. That's
all right,
true.
buddy. I hate to tell you, but you failed trivia this week, and it was pretty simple. It sounds easy enough.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Thank you for your awesome trivia, and thank you to the Pittsburgh Picker for coming on our show and gracing us with endless wisdom in the reselling market. We appreciate it, and we hope to have him on again. So, all right, it's time, fellow pickers, to go find your own treasures one story at a time.
And remember, it's not reselling if you are not using the Yamaha Power Scrub Mop.